Hello, I'm Joseph Giunta, the music director and conductor of the Des Moines Symphony and Academy. And this is the first in our series of DMSO at home videos. I'm recording this in the studio of my home. Behind me, you can see my collection of well over 1,000 orchestral scores that I have acquired in the 46-year career I've had conducting orchestras throughout the world. And yes, I've conducted most of the pieces behind me, and some many times over. I have plenty of practice with self-isolation, mostly because I spend at least 3 hours a day in this very space preparing the music that is on my performance schedule. Music always stretches my imagination, stimulates my mind, and gives me some peace along the way. But during this unprecedented period of time, I am challenging myself by searching for new pieces and revisiting works of familiar composers in their entirety. Now, last week, I chose to listen to all 9 symphonies of the great English composer Ralph Vaughan Williams. I've conducted only his London Symphony, No. 2, many years ago in Maracaibo, Venezuela. And I can only remember 2 occasions that I have heard one of his symphonies played live. For many of these pieces, it was my first hearing, and here are my first impressions. It took me almost 6 hours to hear his 9 symphonies. Their duration varies from 30 to 65 minutes apiece. What struck me was how different they were from each other. No two were alike. There was a wide range of moods throughout these pieces, from joy and exuberance, melancholy and nostalgia, stormy, tranquil, and majestic, just to name a few. I began with his C Symphony, No. 1, which took me on a journey based on Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. At the very beginning, when I heard this huge orchestra, joined by a chorus of hundreds singing "Behold the Sea," I knew this was going to be something very special. His London Symphony, No. 2, reflected his love for a city that he called home. The Pastoral Symphony was, as expected, pleasant, soothing, and very peaceful. His F minor Symphony, No. 4, was a complete departure from his first 3. It was far more dissonant and violent. During the First World War, Vaughan Williams drove ambulances for the Royal Army Medical Corps. He must have witnessed some horrific sights. It made me wonder if this music reflected those memories. His D major Symphony, No. 5, reminded me of English odes and folk songs, even church music, and the ending is very moving with the hymn "All Creatures of Our God and King." It stirred in me a cautious optimism. His 6th appealed to me very much. It was written in the shadow of Hiroshima and when nuclear war was a genuine threat. There was an obvious defiance in the juxtaposition of E and F minors at the very beginning of the piece. Vaughan Williams wrote music for the 1947 film Scott of the Antarctic, which inspired him to use much of this music in his 7th Symphony. It sounds like movie music and uses a large orchestra that includes the unusual wind machine. I found his 8th Symphony lighthearted and short, and his final symphony, premiered only 4 months before his death in 1958, is quite poignant and somber. Now, after listening to all of these pieces within 1 week, there is no doubt in my mind that he belongs to the list of great symphonists of the 20th century, along with Shostakovich and Prokofiev. And I can assure you that one of his symphonies will appear on a future Des Moines Symphony concert. If you are unfamiliar with his music and interested in hearing some for yourself, I suggest listening to his most famous work, the Fantasia on a Theme by Thomas Tallis, the first movement of his C Symphony, and the entire London Symphony. You won't regret it. Until we gather in our collective home, the Civic Center, I hope you have enjoyed our first DMSO at home. Next week, the music of Anton Bruckner. Stay well and be safe.